Credits. That's what I needed. Right at 2 hours. All right. So, oh my God. All right. First things first. We're gonna turn this down first because I'm gonna have to talk over it. And first things first. The bottom center of the screen says that we've beaten 116 games this year, and 438 since we started doing this in 2020. Those numbers are now wrong. We've now beaten 117 games in 2023 and 439 since we started doing this in 2020. Let's go. All right. Sonic, man. What is up with Sonic? I don't know that it's been all necessarily bad, but my experience with Sonic so far has been weird. This is the journey up to this point. I played the first game, I didn't get it. The levels were non-linear, and I could see there was some replay value, but the way that I play games, I don't play for replay value. I'm trying to get through them. I like to have a clear path forward. That is not available in Sonic levels. Eventually, if you keep going right, usually you get there, but a lot of times you gotta go left. So that didn't really jive with me. I also thought the boss fights weren't that great in the first game. I thought they were okay in the first game, but they, they're better than Mario, where he just has to jump over Bowser at the end of every level. But they weren't up to like Mega Man level, right? Which is an older game. And then I played the second. So overall, I was like, meh. I like Mario a lot better. The original Mario a lot better than the original Sonic. And then I played the second one and I liked it even less because it was basically more of the same, but the boss fights were worse, I thought, in the second game. I didn't think the boss fights were as interesting. I didn't think the boss fights were as hard, except for the last one. And then everything else was kind of the same. I liked the pinball level in the second game. That was cool. But aside from that, I thought it was more of the same, except for the worse bosses. Try again. No, thank you. No, thank you. How dare you even ask me to do that? And then, so now, I look at, I didn't even know. I was like, which game is the next game? It's Sonic CD, apparently. I figured it was like Sonic 3. I didn't realize, I thought Sonic CD was like down the road somewhere. I don't know if this is, but we're going to skip it. Yeah, don't care. Don't care. And so I'm like, okay, it's Sonic CD. Fine, let's boot it up. Maybe it'll look better. It's Sonic CD, right? Because I know it was on the Sega CD. They made a big deal about that. So maybe it'll have a graphical jump. And it did a little bit. I mean, it's the Sonic CD is... The Sega CD is more of a gimmick than anything else, really. I remember seeing Sega CD games for the first time and being impressed, but it's not like it was the next level of console, right? It was a graphical, kind of like the FX chip for the SNES. It's that's the Sega CD basically did that, right? So and there was a little bit of a graphical jump, and that's fine. I don't really care about that. I'm more interested in how the game plays. Have they made any differences to the formula, like changes to the formula? And here's what I find. They made a number of changes, and I don't know how I feel about any of them. Number one, who the hell wrote the music? And can you please send me whatever drug they were on? And not in the cool way, not like, oh, trippy, weird music. Like, somebody's cat laid on a piano for a while, and that's what the Sonic CD... it's not that bad, but the music has this weird feel. It's not the peppy, retro MIDI sound of all that. It's more instrumental. And it's like they just actually take like instrumental tracks. I can hear that the music, and so I guess maybe they tried to lean into that. It's like, hey, we can actually do real music, but they made this like weird ambient, almost chanting music that does not have a kick, a beat. It is not a bop. There are these weird ambient songs, and the boss music is fucking even weirder. It's like I'm entering like somebody's weird idea of a haunted house. The music is, I'm going to say it's bad. I'm going to say the music is actually bad. The music is weird, and normally I wouldn't make a big deal about music when I'm deciding to rank a video game at all, but these older games, like, that's a staple of these older games. They have great music, almost invariably, and this is still part of that era, so boo on the music. Whatever they tried to do, it just took all the soul out of Sonic at the levels for me. So that's number one. What was up with the music? Number two, the difficulty was weird. Like, I could blow through the levels. I mean, I'm at 2 hours and 15 minutes on this recording. It took me an hour to get to the end of the next to last world, which basically is like the penultimate next to last boss. It took me an hour. And it took me another hour to beat the last two bosses. And, Sonic 2 was kind of that way too. It was pretty easy until the end. But this one even more so. Like, some of the levels were like, blink and you miss it short. I guess because they're designed that they want you to explore them. I'm not doing that. So I'm just going right until the game won't let me anymore. And so literally 10, 15 seconds sometimes, maybe not that, maybe 20 seconds, but like there were a couple levels that I just blew through. And I get that that's a choice that I'm making, that I'm playing the game that way, but like, I don't want to say what's the point, because the point is credits for me a lot of the time, but like, if you're not going to, what are you putting in my way that's going to make me enjoy this game, right? That's kind of a lot of what it is. It's like, if I have to stop before the credits, is it going to be something fun? And this game just doesn't really do that. It just is like, if you want to explore, I guess you can. And I don't know what there is out there. I didn't look for any of the gems or whatever, and that never even came up. But I just blew through this game until the end. And I guess that's the next problem, is that there's a huge difficulty spike at the end of the game. That's officially a trend now, because it was also true at the end of Sonic 2. There's this thing at the end, man. It's the last boss actually wasn't that rough, but the thing right before, which is exactly what it was in Sonic 2, is not only unreasonably difficult. I wouldn't even say unreasonably difficult. It's hard, okay? It's unclear. I didn't understand what I was supposed to do. The only point I pulled up a walkthrough in this thing was I was doing that part where you basically just have to run for a long time. And I had to look it up just to make sure that I wasn't missing something. And I wasn't. It's like, yeah, you just had to keep going. And that's all I looked up. And I eventually figured it out. But I died 40 times in this game. 25 of them were from that. And another half dozen were from the final boss, and that was most of the deaths. So the difficulty balancing is a little weird. One of the things I really liked about Mario and Lost Levels especially was that they had their challenge to them. There were different levels. Lost Levels was much harder, but they were balanced. They were about the same difficulty all the way through. You go in, when Mario 1, you go in and there's a challenge before you. It's not unreasonable, terribly, but it's a challenging game. And it never really gets like to this point where you hit a brick wall. And it never really gets to this point where you can blow through it. Its difficulty is balanced throughout the game. The more I play these retro games, the more I come to appreciate what a masterpiece the original Mario is. It's so well tuned for a game that came out in 1986. It's just so, like, everything's in its right place. It's very well put together. Even some of the later NES games, like, you get into a part of the level and, like, the console can't handle all the sprites on the screen at the same time, and everything will start slowing down. Super Mario 2 did that quite a bit, actually. That never happens in Mario 1. And all the platforming, although it's got its little quirks, it is precise. The platforming in this is just like fucking, I feel like I'm in a pinball machine, you know? And I recognize that is the desired effect. That is what they want. But I don't know that I love it. I don't know that I enjoy that feeling where I'm just getting bounced around. I don't know where the hell I'm going. Now I'm going left. Am I going forward? I don't know. Let's find out. Nope. Turns out I'm going backwards. Let's turn around and go the other way. I don't really care for that. I'd rather have Mario, where I'm just going right and dealing with. And it can be difficult, and it can be confusing, and it can be labyrinthine without building in all the stuff that Sonic does. I'm going off a little bit of a rant now, but anyway. The difficulty was basically non-existent until the end. And then it was all at the end. So, I get it to a degree why they would make the game like that, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. There are other games that do that differently, and I appreciate that. It's not like they had to do it that way. I guess the real question is, I thought the bosses in this game. We haven't talked about the bosses. The bosses were weird, man. The bosses were weird like the music was weird. Like I was playing and I was like, what the hell is this? Like, I'm confused by the music in this game. I'm confused by the bosses too. There was the second boss fight. I did not know it was a boss fight until it was over. It didn't make any, like, this is not, I guess they, good job, swinging for the fences. They definitely, like, tried to change up some things in this game, but the things that they changed just did not work for me. The music didn't work for me, and the bosses weren't traditional boss fights, most of them. Only two of the boss fights were traditional out of 7, I think. So, and the other ones were more like puzzle fights. That's what they really were like, most of them. And I didn't, I don't mind a puzzle fight from time to time. In fact, I quite enjoy them sometimes in like Souls-likes, things like that. But I need to know what the rules are. And the rules just not saying that they weren't clear is an understatement. It's like if someone wanted to do a baseball diamond that's never played or seen baseball before. What the fuck am I supposed to do with these? What am I supposed to do with this? How do I play this game? That's how I felt. So, the final question is, where do I rank this? Because Sonic 1 and 2 did not rank high. This is not going to rank much higher, but the question is, did I enjoy this game as much or even more than 1 and 2, which is not a high bar for me? And I don't know the answer to that question. I think the answer is no. I think this is a worse game. I don't know what the reviews on this game are, or what the general consensus among gamers is about this game, if it's good or not. This is the impression that it gives me. And I was talking about this during the recording. Some games from this era, or like when you had suddenly, you've got Sega CD, now you can play Sonic on a disc on a almost new console, and it's got better graphics. A lot of games, they use that as an excuse to just throw anything out, but then, but it's next gen, so you'll still buy it, and we can still charge $60 for it. And this kind of felt like that. Even though it didn't look that much better, it looked a little bit better, but it did not look that much better. So yeah, I think all in all, like, not a fan, no. And it's a shame, because Sonic is batting 0 for 3 for me right now. I mean, I wouldn't. That's a little rough. That's a rough way to say that. I did enjoy the first game a little bit. It's not like it's worthless, not even this one. But I haven't loved any of them. So I don't know what's after this. It's some weird game. It's like some Game Gear game. I don't even know if I'm going to play the mobile ones, or it's like Sonic Spinball or something. I'm trying to play them all, like all the major ones, even if they're not like 1, 2, 3, whatever, right? So, you know, it's not like Sonic is like Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic 4, Sonic 5. It's all over the map. So I'm trying to get as many of them as I can. But so far, man, I just don't get Sonic. I don't. It's not for me. It's not that I don't get it. I understand why people might like it more than me, because I don't. I kind of hurry through them and whatever, and they're not really designed for that as much as something like Mario can be or Mega Man can be. But I'm just not. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's objectively bad. I'm just saying it just doesn't feel like it's for me. I'm going to continue to play them because they're short and they're not too hard. But so far, all right. That's fine. This is the port. This is the part of the video where I would normally say, Sonic CD, it's been fun, but we're now going to delete you from our console and never play you again. But we are not going to do that, because this is a small file on my PS5, and it's got the other Sonic games on them that I'm going to play. So we'll just say, bye, Sonic CD. It's been fun. Thank you for allowing us to play you. I'm glad we finally got to. Bye-bye.